Hello and welcome back to Dreamwalker Tarot. My name is Dawn and this is the April reading for Libra Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Mercury. Thank you for listening. Please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. This month, I will be using the Celtic Cross Tarot spread, and the first card that comes out in the position of your current situation is the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. And the Ace of Pentacles is an indication that there is some sort of loss. Usually it leans towards like a financial type of loss, maybe a job loss, losing like the place, like material things. So like a car, you might have lost a car, a job, a house. So there is some sense of loss here attached to like a financial or material aspect of your life. This can also be some sort of setback, loss of an opportunity. Maybe you were given a job offer or somebody offered you something, but it didn't pan out. Or this can indicate also like a lack of planning and a lack of foresight. This month I will be using the Grand Tableau Lenormand Oracle deck to do clarifiers, because right about now I am completely in love with this deck and how it works with my tarot spreads. And the cards that came out as a clarifier for the Ace of Pentacles in reverse is the Ring, the Anchor, the Key, and the Mouse. So what this is saying is that with the Ring, this is some sort of contractual agreement, some sort of promise that was made. And you or the other party felt a sense of security in the promise. Like a sense that it would be moving forward. You made me a promise and you're going to do it. However, with the Mouse here, it's an indication that it was a dishonest promise or a commitment that wasn't necessarily good for you or good for the other person. And so obviously this commitment was broken. Which is kind of like showing up here with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, right? So the promise was pretty much broken. And so this could have been a marriage. It could have been further commitment. It could have been just like a contract here with the Key. It's about making a contract and a promise of some sort. And so this is the reason why you're having, this Ace of Pentacles in reverse moment as a loss or as a delay. It's due to this contract, being broken. But with the presence of the Mouse here, there's some dishonesty attached to this agreement or to this contractual obligation. And so that was the reason why the contract was breached or the promise was not fulfilled. What is crossing the Ace of Pentacles in reverse is the Five of Swords in reverse. So this shows that as a result of this contract being broken or promises not being kept, there is a sense of resentment from one person in this party. This card is a card of conflict. It's a card of disagreements. It's a card of defeat, and the idea that someone is basically trying to win a conflict or a fight no matter what it takes, right? The idea here is that that's being shown in the cards is that they're operating in a way where it doesn't matter how they win. They feel like ultimately they have to win. And in this particular case, when we see this card, it's an indication that it's a fight that you can't really win, right? It's like having a fight with someone that you're close to, that you're in a relationship with. In this case, you could be married to them. And at the end of this, you might have won the fight, but the relationship is in shambles, right? And so this is a point or a period where, you're trying to move on, maybe trying to make amends, but it feels like damage has been done, which kind of makes sense because the Mouse card came up, and the Mouse card is usually also an indication of like a deterioration of a relationship or a deterioration of a marriage. So whatever the case may be, and in most cases, in this particular situation, it looks like it's more leaning towards like a relationship aspect. There is a sense of like a resentment here, and this could be on your part, but this could also be on the other person's part as well. What's happening here is that you might be, depending on who you are in this particular disagreement, you might be walking away from it. You might be just trying to like move on from it because, you know, like I said, the damage has been done. And so you're trying to make a change in terms of like moving forward, like on a positive note after like a period of like going back and forth. It feels like you're over it and you want to move forward, because the Ace of Pentacles is an indication of financial loss, also material loss. And so there is a loss attached to this deteriorating contract, or the conflict attached to this contract not being fulfilled. And it just feels like you want to forget it and just move forward. The clarification for the Five of Swords in the reverse is the Scythe, the Fox, the Fish, and the Crossroad. So basically a decision had to be made. And when we see the Crossroad, it's like a decision, you know, based on like how you want to move forward after what is being called here a sudden ending. When we see the scythe is an indication of a sudden ending, a very hasty ending, an ending that one party or the other part or two of the parties did not see coming. And so as a result of the sudden ending, this particular person who's being represented as the fox is in pain. It's not physical pain. It is more of like emotional pain here. But ultimately, even though there is a dissolution of the contract or dissolution of the marriage or a dissolution of the relationship, there are still some financial attachments there, which is being represented by the fish. So there is a sense that there has to be some resolution to financial matters when it comes to this ended relationship, or this relationship that has ended kind of suddenly, right? So there's still some residual things that need to kind of like be dealt with in terms of like on a financial level. The combination of the fish and the fox, though, in the middle of this reading is the part that is kind of like, okay, so the fox is usually a person that operates with stealth, right? With cunning. They're very instinctual, but when we see this card, there is some sort of sneaky behavior, which is almost kind of present with the Five of Swords. There's like a sneaky element to it. And so it's like there is a sneakiness attached to finances with the fish and the fox smack dab in the middle of it. So even though the relationship is ended, the contract was never fulfilled, one person is leaving the situation feeling away, right? So they're upset, they're angry, they feel blindsided by it. Even though the relationship was a deteriorating relationship, obviously somebody made the decision to end it, but there is some sort of like deception attached to finances attached to this ending, if that makes sense, right? In the past, the card that comes up is the Devil, right? And so the Devil card is really also an indication of a breakup, right? So that is showing up in the past. And so if we're talking about this contract and this relationship, the Devil card is an indication that this is most likely a breakup, right? This could be with a Capricorn person, or you can have Capricorn in your chart. But it's also talking about being in a place that is not healthy for you, really kind of like tapping into like the dark aspects of your personality, or you might have felt like you were in the dark due to this dynamic or the situation, or feeling restricted or bound by certain things. You could have possibly really been engaging in like destructive behaviors, drinking a lot, smoking a lot, those types of things, and really kind of feeling like you're being held in place. And so ultimately, as we see, you've made the decision to kind of like leave the situation because, again, with the mouse card showing up, it was unhealthy and it was like a deterioration, right? So this is a sign of detaching. This is you detaching from the dynamic of that situation and moving into a space where you're focused more on like your higher self and your highest potentials, and letting go unhealthy attachments that kind of keep you stuck and keep you in place. The clarification for the devil in reverse is again the fox, the anchor, and now we have the house card. So this could have been a situation attached to a household that you were in. You might have been living with this person or sharing a personal space with them. But again, the fox is, like I said, someone who is sneaky, who is untrustworthy, and they're operating from a sense of selfishness for their whatever it is that they're doing it for their own selfish desires. So again, this could be representative of the devil energy, but like I said, it could also just kind of be the way that they're operating. They were operating in the space of the relationship, particularly when it came to like family issues, untraditional ways of being a family, but definitely pertaining to family issues. This person was really kind of focused on their own self-interest. Everything is about what they want and what they need. And so as a result, like I said, this is an indication of like the breakup and kind of like moving away from that situation, probably due to the nature of this person. One of the elements that that this card brings up, the fox card brings up, is that a lot of times when people operate in a way where they're using their cunning or they're trying to use their brain to kind of like get over on you, or they're doing whatever they have to do like in a sneaky way, it's due to self-preservation and survival. So as far as they're concerned, they're doing what they need to do in order to survive, and survive in a way that's like, operating in a way that's best for their own self-interest, and doing what they need to do, to basically survive, right? In your conscious realm, in your conscious way of being, you're employing the energy of the Chariot card, which is essentially moving forward, right? The Chariot card is about forward movement. The Chariot card is also an indication of the Cancer, a Cancer sign. So some of you may be moving forward with a Cancer, or you're just really in this space where you're like trying to move away. Again, with the Five of Swords in the reverse, it was also talking about like letting things go after a period of like, a lot of drama and conflict, and just really feeling like you're in the space where you're really, you're breaking up, you're leaving stuff behind, and you're moving forward with the Chariot card. That's basically just your conscious desire, what you consciously want to do. In the subconscious realm, or in your subconscious thoughts, the card that comes out is the Nine of Pentacles, which is basically saying that all you really want to do is you want to move forward in this life, and you want to basically just do the things that you need to do, work hard. This particular card is really like a card of doing like the mundane, right? So you're not asking for anything fancy. You're not asking for anything extravagant. You're not asking for a lot. You just want the basics. You want to work. You want to, pay your bills on time. You want to, just be gainfully employed. Like this card is like, financial responsibility, just getting up every day, following a schedule, following a pattern, working hard, putting in the work to get the things that you want to get accomplished. And so on the subconscious level, that's all you really want. You want to move forward, and you want to be gainfully employed. You want to take care of yourself. You want to take care of your bills. You want to take care of all the things that you need to take care of on a financial note. In the near future, we have the Star card, which is kind of like really being in a space where we are finding balance, being fruitful, really planting seeds and watching them grow, watering the things in your life that are very important to you. I mean, it's a stark difference between the Devil card and the Star card. They're like on polar opposite sides of the spectrum in terms of like the way that you're feeling and the way that you're future, like kind of like moving forward. So it feels like a really good shift into like a positive direction. And the card, star card, is really ultimately about hope, right? It's about hope for the future and hope for really being able to manifest the things that you want with the hard work that you're putting in. The star card is also a symbol for Aquarius. So I don't know, some of you might have an Aquarius in your life, or, really just like dealing with things on a hopeful note and really having like a very positive outlook and hope that things will kind of like work out based on the work that you're putting in and based on the energy that you're putting into it also. In the position of your actions is the Five of Wands. So you are actively trying to avoid the bullshit, right? The Five of Wands is like a card that speaks about being defensive and being like in defense mode, especially against anything, any surprises. So it feels like you think that there is a potential for a surprise attack, or just some surprise retaliation perhaps, but you're really like in a state of kind of like being defensive, like defending your territory, defending your ground, standing your ground. The things that you say you mean, the things that you do are intentional. So at this stage, it just feels like you're trying to just deflect any conflict, unless there's a reason for it, unless it's constructive. It's like you're trying to avoid all forms of discomfort, which is kind of typical for Libra. Libra really wants to be like balanced. They really don't want a lot of drama, a lot of conflict. And so that's kind of like the energy that you're having right now. This card is also an indication that it feels like things are kind of like shifting. Information is like kind of coming into you that's like changing your perspective or your opinions on people, places, and situations. It's like once you feel like you know something, it's like more information comes in that kind of like blows your mind, where you're like, okay, this is new information, right? And so it's kind of leaving you in a state of being hyper aware of the things that are happening around you, because like I said, you are trying to actively avoid conflict. And so for some of you, this is not just external conflict, this is also internal conflict based on the external information that you might be finding out or might be coming to you. This card is also an indication that after a period of a lot of conflict or a lot of like disputes, like with the Chariot, it is really like a sense of really trying to move on, and to not really be aggressive and hostile and angry, kind of like tapping into that devil in reverse energy, where it's like you're trying to be like your more enlightened higher self. Sorry about that. The clarifiers for this card is the dog, the cloud, luck, and the snake. So again, like the snake energy is kind of like really similar to like the fox energy. It's really about deception, about hidden information here. Like I said, information that is being clouded or is not clear. This combination of cards is an indication. So when we see the dog, we're talking about loyalty, we're talking about friendship. The clover is a representation of like the opportunity to have a friendship, or the opportunity to be a friend with someone, right? While the cloud card is indication that there's confusion about this friendship and confusion about the loyalty of someone that you might consider a friend. But with the presence of the snake card here, there's also the indication that that person might not necessarily be that forthcoming, like they might desire a friendship with you, but it's more for the fact that they want to kind of like manipulate the situation. So a snaky friend is like a manipulative friend, or so it could be someone that you already know, or this can be a new person or a new situation coming into your life. But whatever it is, you'll know what it is, because the dynamic of it is that it's kind of like you're confused about what this person wants from you, or what it is that they're trying to develop or trying to start, if it's something new. But if it's something old, like, they're purposely being a little bit elusive or confusing. Their actions are confusing to you. Ultimately, there really is a sense of you being extremely careful and very defensive about your square, particularly when it comes to new friendships, new opportunities for friendships, because you might not necessarily trust that people are very open and honest about their intentions or the way that they kind of like present themselves. And so you're kind of doubtful about people's loyalty to you. And so as a result, with the Five of Wands here, you might kind of like be in defense mode, because I feel like you just don't want the drama in your life at all, right? The person that the outside influences that are affecting the situation is being represented here by the Queen of Wands. And so this is an archetype, right? This could potentially be, for some of you, an individual or a person that is kind of contributing to your feelings about not being able to trust people, or whatever the case may be. And the Queen of Wands is usually indication of a fire sign individual. So that's Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo energy, right? This card is representing like a feminine archetype, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. But this individual is kind of like influencing the situation. Sometimes when we see this card, it's an indication of like black magic with the card there. But this person is really confident. Is really like a social butterfly, the life of the party. And so but they're showing up as the influence of the situation, which is your current situation is like your loss, your financial loss, trying to move forward. So for some of you, this is the person that you're trying to get away from. And for others of you, this is the new elusive person coming into your life that you're not particularly sure of, right? And so I feel like with new people coming into your life, you kind of get the wisdom of discernment through previous situations that you've gone through, and that wisdom allows you to make clear decisions about people based on their actions. So there's that. But I wanted to pull clarifiers for the Queen of Wands, just to get more insight into this outside influence. So the clarification for this Queen of Wands is the mouse, the child, the rider, and the moon. So okay, so a couple of things, right? The rider is an indication of someone coming into your life. It's usually an indication of a new relationship, a new romance, or the potential for a new relationship or new romance. But when we see the rider card is an indication of a fleeting romance. So it's not something that like lasts. It's not something that stays around. It comes in and it goes out, right? So that's one possibility. So on the outside, this Queen of Wands person, for some Queen of Wands individual, for some of you, is someone that will be coming into you as a potential prospect for a relationship, right? Others of you, this child and the Queen of Wands are connected. So it's either mother or child, but it could also be that this person, even though they present themselves a certain way, they have a very childlike approach, or a childlike effect to them. They come across being like, immature or childish or just young at heart. So they could be very playful, but they could also be immature. With the moon card here and the mouse card here, you don't necessarily know everything about this person. The combination of the moon card and the mice card is one that indicates a sickness or disease, but there can also be an indication of emotions that are not necessarily paid attention to. There could be like childhood issues, childhood traumas attached to this particular person with the child and the mouse card here, or a illness that started in childhood that you might not necessarily know about, but The combination of the mouse and the moon is an indication of someone that neglects their emotions, or they're very self-destructive with their emotions, or they cause their emotions will cause them to do things that are self-destructive to them. They can be very jealous in nature, very possessive in nature. And so those are the elements that we're dealing with this person that's on the outside of this equation, that's kind of playing a role or a factor in the dynamic of the situation. So there are a couple of things that potentially that are happening. And for not, it's not going to play out the same for everyone, but these are the elements of the outside influences that you should be aware of. The card that comes out in the position of your hopes and your dreams is the Four of Wands. So there is an idea here that you want to be celebrating something, whether it be a marriage, a commitment. It's about stability, foundation, and obviously with the Knight of Pentacles that came up, there is a definite push in the direction of you really trying to build something that offers you stability, and so that's kind of like what you're working on. For some of you, this is like a celebration of like a marriage, a union, a commitment. This is also a celebration, like it could be a graduation, but it's really just celebrating major events and happenings in your life, and so that's kind of like what you want to do. I feel like you are over all of the drama and all the unnecessary things, disagreements and conflicts that come up, and really just wanting to be in a space where you're celebrating the best aspects of life and what life has to offer. And these are the things that you're actively working towards on a daily basis, and that's what you're looking forward to, and that's what you're hopeful about. The final outcome, the card that comes out, is the Page of Cups, right? So this is indication that in the future of this particular situation, it might result in a sort of you're looking at romances in a different way, right? So the Page of Cups is like a natural romantic, dreamy, just kind of like heads in the clouds, like anything is possible. Was a very creative person or creative spirit, but in the reverse, a lot of that creativity or that ability to move in a really intuitive way is kind of like compromised. And so you might find that you have like intuitive blockages, just really kind of being unclear about like how to like make choices when it comes to people. The Page of Cups is also an indication of immaturity and immature behavior. And so it's interesting because that is actually kind of like the archetype or the type of energy that was being presented with the Queen of Wands individual that came up as the outside influence. And so I kind of feel like these two cards are kind of attached. So when we were talking about like a Page of Cups, we're talking about Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. And so I feel like the connection between this energy is directly linked back to this Queen of Wands energy, right? So someone that might be emotionally immature that keeps trying to drag you back into like the same fights, same arguments, possibly about finances, but for whatever reason, it's like even though you're trying to like move away or trying to avoid disputes or arguments about this person, you might continuously keep finding out information about this person that kind of like throws you off your square. But ultimately, I feel like wisdom is kind of like gained through this dynamic where you're able to kind of like discern like who you're dealing with moving on in the future in terms of like dealing with the new dynamics or new people coming into your life, just using the wisdom of discernment that you have kind of acquired throughout your past situations, the ones that you've kind of like allowed to kind of help you move into a space where you're operating from like your higher self. And so I feel like you're actively trying to avoid immaturity or immature behavior, as like kind of like seen by the cards. So this is just something to be mindful of moving in the future. You're probably still going to have to be dealing with this person that's kind of like on the outside periphery of your reading, which is someone that keeps causing a little bit of conflict in your life. But for some of you, this is a new person. And so just to be mindful that this person might have issues with maturity, or they might just have a lot of childhood issues or illnesses that you might not necessarily know or might not necessarily be aware of, but will become a part of your life and a part of your problem if you, kind of like if you deal with them. So I'm going to go ahead and pull advice cards for you guys from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. The first card that comes out is the Druid card, which says to hold a space. Hold things together. Don't make any sudden moves or changes. Stand strong, knowing you are where you are supposed to be. The Druids were the ancient wise ones of the British Isles, and they had a deep connection with the earth, the sun, and the moon. They were the scholars who created the Ogham tree language, and they were known for their creative skills in storytelling, poetry, and craftsmanship. When the Druid card appears in a reading, you're being guided to dig deep within and hold your station. If you're wondering what to do next or have a sense of anxiety about what is unfolding in your life, it's time to shift your perceptions and move back to a state of trust. Don't change your plans or do anything drastic. Just trust in the process and let everything happen as it needs to before taking any more steps. Think of a tree. It has strong roots, yet continues to grow and bear fruit. Your life will be a reflection of this. The second card that comes out for you guys is the Elder card, which says to move beyond ancestral patterns. Move beyond the limitations that have been set for you by family members past and present. Know that the energy of your spirit is more powerful than genetics and behavioral patterns. The Aboriginal people are the oldest tribal people still living on the planet. Their hunter-gatherer culture and ancient spirituality are rooted in tradition and balance with the earth. So the Aboriginal ancestors are offering you not only wisdom that will help you heal and adapt to the ever-changing planet, but also an understanding of what a spiritual life should be. The elder is the ancestor who comes with a message of healing change. He is an embodied soul, yet he has had journeys that go beyond the physical. Therefore, he represents a reclamation of power. When he appears, it's an acknowledgement that you have the capacity to move beyond the limitations that have been placed upon you. If you have had expectations of success, failure, sadness, or even sickness placed upon you by your family, it's important to know that you are here to create your own story. This card represents personal healing that will bring healing to your family lineage, past, present, and future. Know that you get to decide what you take on, and also know that your ancestors are rooting for you and are sorry for any setbacks that they have created for you. That was a nice little message. So this concludes the reading for you guys this month. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate you. Please go ahead and like the video, share your comments or your thoughts about how this is manifesting in your life below. Share the video with a friend who you feel could benefit from the message here, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for post notifications, and I will see you soon.